We're gonna give them a vision of the world the way it really is.
Welcome to the 6th episode of John and Ken talking about the Loudest Voice, Showtime's series on Roger Ailes and Fox News. I can officially say this has become a pain in the rear end to watch, and it's kind of not fun for me anymore. I'm not quite sure how non-Fox people are getting through it. This whole thing is fun for me to talk to you, but this is like a job now. John, what'd you say?
Your opinion is shared by many. Their ratings keep going down every week.
Right.
So what's happened, Ken, is the first 2 episodes, I would say, provided some enlightenment to non-Fox viewers about what a news network is all about and about what has to be done to get it running and to make it successful. It's now turned into something on the order of obscenity, focusing on Roger's physical ailments, his inability to do certain things anymore, and then, of course, this mawkish portrayal of him as a serial sex offender.
So the last episode opened up with him getting oral sex from one of his employees. This one opens up with him with his feet in the stirrups and a doctor diving in under his gown. You know, I went 30 years without ever really thinking of my boss's genitals, and now I've just had them thrust in my face, so to speak, twice in the last 2 episodes, and I'm afraid to watch the next one.
At least we know both parts of Roger's lower body were getting pretty good attention.
So let's go through some of the things that the show had. This was a lot more sexual harassment. It was really kind of the culmination with him and Gretchen Carlson, her audio taping him and all. Any insight on that? Anything you want to add?
None whatsoever, unfortunately. I mean, I just wasn't there, didn't know about it, had very, very little conversation with Gretchen during her time at Fox. I think that the taping, which, by the way, has never been officially proven, it was alleged in the lawsuit, but certainly the tapes have not been heard. From what I saw during this show, during this week's episode, Roger was, of course, the character playing Roger was, of course, being suggestive, but was not really at a point where this was going to be the basis of a lawsuit. Whatever Gretchen brought up in her lawsuit, which, of course, ended Roger's career, had to have been more substantive than what was being discussed and portrayed in this episode.
So I read her entire lawsuit, and she alleged that years back, Roger had basically offered a quid pro quo, have sex with me and you'll either get a better slot or a better time slot or something along those lines. I don't recall seeing the specific dates on it. And then, as you can often see in lawsuits like that at a certain point of time, and it was probably a year or so before she got fired, that you start seeing where she started recording them, because it wasn't just a, hey, Roger said we should sleep together. It was longer quotes of things. It's kind of an obvious thing. In this show, it was kind of weird, because in this show she hears him saying something that was sexually suggestive, but certainly not. I've talked to at least one lawyer who was like, yeah, no, she wouldn't have won that case, certainly based on that. It was something, years ago, you and I should have slept together. It would have made you better and made me better, something along those lines.
The quote, Ken, that came out, and I think it was used in the lawsuit as well, then you would have been good and better, and I'd have been good and better. For the life of me, I still don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's... Yeah, I mean, it certainly wasn't like they show her leap up at the ball game and I got him. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's not. And then the other dumb thing about the TV show is, in a previous episode, You saw her recording him, and he doesn't say something weirdly, vaguely. What exactly does that mean? Like what that quote was. He was like, you have an ass that's a hand magnet. Well, never saw that in the in the lawsuit, and I don't know. Seems like that would have been the better quote to have. So I don't know why 2 episodes later she was jumping up and around because he said something like that. But that was
And here's the other thing, Ken. The physical contact which is portrayed in the Showtime series, Roger putting his hands on Gretchen's bottom or around her stomach. Since Gretchen was not permitted to discuss the terms of her leaving Fox, and Roger, of course, would not have been cooperative and is now deceased, that's all speculation.
Yeah, I mean, assuming she didn't tell her friends to leak that
Right.
and whatnot.
The,
I mean,
the
there
other
are
thing
ways
that
to
I
do
found
that.
extremely unbelievable, in this episode, it's revealed that Gretchen never told her husband anything about the sexual harassment that she claims to have endured for so long. Now she, has a trusty glass of white wine during most of her scenes in this episode, but to not tell your husband, and he quite a powerful sports agent, no stranger to controversy, doesn't sound right to me. It's as though she's being the strong woman handling all of this by herself and not letting her husband in on her travails.
I have no idea on that one. Whether
Nobody does.
Whether,
Nobody does.
Well, I mean, Gretchen and her husband know on whether they had those conversations or whatnot.
I guess the point is that it's yet another flight of invention on the part of the producers.
Yeah. I have some personal experience with Gretchen's lawyer, Nancy Erica Smith. She's coming up as a savior in this, and about a year ago, 6 months ago, she was representing another person at Fox who got fired, not on sexual harassment charges. And this was about a story that I didn't publish. It was the Stormy Daniels story that I held off on at the .com. And not for nothing. And I saw this lawyer go on TV and just make crap up about me, saying, well, no, Ken didn't do this and he did that and he's working for Fox now and they're encouraging him to do that. And, I've never sued anybody in my life. I kind of wanted to. I'm starting a news organization. I got this gal out there saying I'm a liar. But what am I going to do? Go to New Jersey and sue a lawyer for defamation. But I would challenge her anytime, anywhere to prove any of those statements because she's full of crap. And not saying she lied at all about any of this Gretchen stuff. I have no idea, but I had a firsthand experience with that lawyer, and not an honest person, but a lawyer who lies, I guess, really isn't something that breaks the bank on things.
What a surprise. Newsflash.
The other 2 aspects of this, the second, and it actually had some elements of truth to it, and a lot of it rang true, was Roger versus the Murdoch sons. Roger never liked the boys all that much. I was always kind of a little surprised at how aggressive he was towards them, and it eventually was a kind of strategically fatal flaw for his career because he could have charmed them and brought them in and did that. I think he was somewhat resentful that they had so much power and the ability to kind of dork him around just for the smart career move of being born to Rupert Murdoch. Did you see any interactions with them? How did this feel to you? What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, as you say, it rings true. Roger didn't like to share the spotlight, even with someone's son. and so his ability to put Fox News in the lead in ratings and financial viability, et cetera, was his gift to Rupert, and he expected full gratitude, even if that meant Rupert occasionally pushing his sons out of the scene. Now, we know that there was a confrontation soon after 9/11 when anthrax was supposedly delivered to the New York Post. Roger went into the newsroom, told everybody it was okay, they were going to be taken care of. Lachlan came in front of all the employees, told Roger to calm down. So, their relationship was never going to be smooth. More to the point, Rupert Murdoch sided with Roger on that, causing Lachlan at a certain point to quit the company. So, yeah, I mean, it was never going to be a smooth, easy, transgenerational relationship with the Murdochs, and Roger knew it, and I think probably knew that his career at News Corporation would end before theirs did.
Yes. Yes, no, I think that's probably true. And he probably also felt, hey, I'm netting you guys $1 billion a year. The Sons can go out and buy MySpace and buy all their things that they're doing. Let me run the place. I'm making some good money. Just kind of get out of my way. The politics of the family. I always felt that Rupert was fairly conservative. I think he was a capitalist more than he was a conservative. I got the impression that James was pretty liberal and I think embarrassed a little bit of the content of Fox News. I know his wife is kind of an activist on some left-wing and environmental causes, and you hear them saying, so I'm sure that he wasn't all that thrilled when he went to Hollywood and he was the guy running Fox News. And Lachlan, I don't think Lachlan cared all that much. I didn't get the impression that I thought Lachlan really enjoyed being a Murdoch. Out of all of those, he seemed to be, to me, the least ideological. Did you see anything similar or different?
I think that's right. I have very limited experience with either of the Sons. I did know Lachlan a bit. I think he's more like his father than James. James is generationally very different and responds to different stimuli than Rupert and Lachlan do. It's also true and possibly noteworthy that Rupert has a daughter who was married for a while to an English public relations fellow, and that man put out a statement saying that I am not alone in the Murdoch family at being disgusted by what appears on Fox News. That did not endear Roger to other members of the Murdoch family.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I remember he had some choice words about that. I wish I could remember the exact words. I thought that the Murdoch character was kind of interesting because he went from a very kind of Roger run the place and whatnot to this is an order and this and that. I always felt that Roger's and Rupert's relationship, they certainly had some clashes when it came to the kids and when it came to some of this. But and there were times where Roger said, hey, if you don't like the direction we're going, that's fine. This is the direction we're going with me. I'll quit and you can find somebody else. I have, but the scene of him coming down to tell Roger to be fair to the candidates and whatnot, and this is a directive and this is an order. I never saw anything kind of approaching that.
Well, there are a couple of things
in every
there,
meeting, though, certainly.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things to consider there, Ken. One, it was simply a fact of the 2016 Republican primary campaign that Donald Trump took all the oxygen out of the room.
Yes. They kept saying, Roger, you're covering Donald Trump more than the other channels. It's like, well, the guy was on CNN 70% of the time. Who didn't? How could you not cover Donald Trump? I mean,
this was Donald and the 15 Dwarfs,
right.
And that's just the way it played out.
Right.
For a couple of reasons. Trump got ratings, and no TV network is going to ignore that reality. He said things that at that time were extremely unconventional and attracted people's attention for good or ill. And as we later found out, his support was growing. And to ignore a groundswell of support like that was not only unfair to the viewers, but it would have been bad journalism not to at least recognize what was going on.
But it's so shitty when they did the, all the other staff was like the normal people, and Roger was like, "Well, we're going to get Trump elected." Which, okay, first of all, in a year campaign, I was probably in 500 meetings with Roger, editorial meetings. We'd have 2 a day during weekdays. I never got any marching orders or the sense of, hey, we're going to help one of these guys in the primary or one of these gals in the primary. I never, and I know people are going to watch this and be like, hey, he's lying. I never did. Now, clearly, once the Republicans won, Roger was he was a Republican and he was conservative, and there was, you kind of knew where some of that was. But in the primary like this, that Fox was the one that created Donald Trump, I call complete BS.
Yeah. I think we've mentioned this in a previous segment, Ken, but I don't think Roger viewed Donald Trump as a very astute politician. He probably saw some flashes of personal brilliance in him. He probably understood that Trump was good TV. I'm sure he understood that. But did Roger's thinking go so far as to say Trump would be a great president of the United States? I don't think so.
No,
he viewed him
didn't
as
do
an
that.
entertainer.
Even after he was elected, I had conversations with him, and he was never like, "Oh, he's just perfect." I found it kind of offensive. This show's not serious enough to be offensive, but I found it crappy when the Suzanne Scott character was like, well, but we're going to cover more and he's going to win and America's screwed. And he's like, well, it's good ratings and I run this network. I don't run the country. I never heard Roger like overtly saying something like, hey, I'm going to do something that's going to hurt America to help Fox News. I mean, the guy bled red, white, and blue. He bought a house overlooking West Point. When you talk to him, he was always talking about the history and importance of the country, and he believed that Fox was important to that. But the concept of, fuck America, Fox News is doing great, it never would have come through his lips, and it was complete.
No.
It was complete.
Look, Roger, for all of his personal demons, was one of the most old-fashioned, as you say, red, white, and blue patriotic Americans you will ever see. And he loved the country, and he wanted it to be a great country for his son when he became an adult as well.
What other things in here? They still did the whole thing that Roger's wife didn't like Roger's personal assistant. I don't know who peed in their Cheerios over that one. I never got any indication that those two gals had a thing here, and they can't get through an episode. And this one, Roger's wife is like, why did she bring those muffins in? You can only have half a muffin. And it was just so I think somebody doesn't like Judy. And in this, I don't know if this is somebody's way of kind of tweaking her back for something because she wouldn't talk or what the deal is, but I found it bizarre.
Well, let's talk about what Roger valued most, and that was loyalty. And there was no more loyal member of Fox News or of Roger Ailes' circle than Judy Laterza. You don't have to
and Beth. I mean, they were both
of course
pretty hardcore.
Of course, you don't have to like the things that Judy probably did to help Roger go about his business. But that does not mean that Judy was an evil person or that she and Beth didn't get along. I think they were in a joint venture, though perhaps coming at it from different directions. They were in a joint venture to make Roger successful, happy, and as healthy as possible. Yeah.
What other? This one is kind of a repetition of the others. Again, we saw a lot of kind of his physical deterioration, which he did he was doing a cane in the last years. I told him he should go in the. They showed him freaking out when a wheelchair was suggested for him. I told him, you'll be Ironsides. You would scare the crap out of half of America if you come wheeling up in a wheelchair. I thought it would have been great image for him, but he just laughed.
Yeah, I mean, Roger's masculine pride, I think, was with him right up until his death. And he was also, if nothing else, a master of the television screen. And perhaps, although you think he might have looked like Ironsides, perhaps he had in mind an FDR likeness and didn't want to go to that extreme. It did not really work out for him because while trying to navigate around with a cane, I mean, he was unsteady on his feet. Now, the only other thing I'll say
that's eventually how he died was falling in the bathroom. So
right. The only other thing about this episode of the series, to dwell on a man's physical ailments to the extent that they did, and they were all centered around his lower body, is just. I wonder what other well-known figures Showtime would go to that length to humiliate and prove to be incontinent and impotent. I mean, I think Russell Crowe gave an amazing performance of impotence, and I just wonder if that was method acting or if he was, just being himself.
Why? Yeah, look, I think that this is the arc that they're giving him. Most of the time in a movie, you get the redemptive arc, and you have all that. I think that they started him off as as kind of middle America. They turned him into evil. Now he was evil enough to give us Donald Trump, and you got to be pretty friggin' evil in the world to give you a Donald Trump. And now they're just going to watch the destruction of his body and of everything he went for. I'm guessing
and his career and all the things he believed in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that they're expecting the audience to be like, good, he can't pee anymore, and that's where they're going.
Well, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, it's he can't decide when to pee anymore, and that's just it's too much.
Anyhow,
it's TMI.
I am so glad there's only one more episode in this. I'm rooting for never seeing Russell Crowe give a Roger Ailes Soda Voco thing again. It's just gotten kind of, it's gotten stupider.
It's gotten less palatable and less believable, and I think that what started out as, if not a complimentary look at Fox News,
right,
at least an incisive look at Fox News.
One at least grounded somewhat in reality, even when it was wrong. And now this is just...
It's just turned into some sick imaginations getting to put their words on the screen.
Wow, we sound like two cranky old men. Gee.
Get off my lawn, Ken.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go pee in the bed now. So... All right, that is it for this one. This was a shorter episode than the other, at least on our aspect here. I think we're starting to see some repetitiveness in it. I wish I could find some, I guess with the exception of possibly the Murdoch sons, some insight. Hey, there's something to learn from this. Now it's really insight into Hollywood, and there's not too much to be gleaned from that. So if you liked any of this, click the little ding-dong button, the subscribe, the like buttons. We will have more non-Fox and non-Loudest Voice videos coming up very soon. And we will see you on the flip side. Thanks, John. All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye. If you like this at all, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the little bell icon and it'll let you know when the next one of these videos comes up. We're also involved in the comment section, so please ask questions or give your thoughts. We'd be happy to chat with you. Finally, LaCorte News is going to be putting out a lot more videos. We're taking a very critical look at the media because they often lie. And we would love to have you on board with this and giving us your thoughts as we grow this into something real. Thanks.